Welcome to Biology with Tamur Shakuri. In this video, we will cover how exercise affects the body. The key point to understand is that when we exercise, our bodies need to carry out more cellular respiration. Why? Because all exercise requires us to move our muscles much more than usual. And any muscular contraction is going to require lots of energy, which we have to get from respiration. As respiration requires oxygen, we need to get more oxygen into our muscles. To achieve this, the rate of our breathing and the volume of each breath will have to increase. The downside to this, though, is we will be required to move the muscles around our lungs more than usual, which itself is going to require energy. We're also going to pump this oxygen around our body more quickly than usual. So our heart rate is going to have to increase, which again is going to require even more energy. The plan, though, is that with all of this increased effort that we're putting in will mean that we can supply enough oxygen to all of our muscles. And we will continue to undergo aerobic respiration. Sometimes, though, such as sprinting or fast cycling, during this time there won't be enough oxygen to keep up with all of our demands. Therefore, our cells will start undergoing anaerobic respiration. Now, the thing about anaerobic respiration is that it is far less efficient than aerobic respiration. But since there is no spare oxygen left, it is the best option that the muscles have to get the energy that they need. So it doesn't matter if it is less efficient. The main problem, though, is that it produces lactic acid, which will build up in our tissues and which gives you the burning sensation in your muscles, which you sometimes get after your exercise. Once you've finished exercising, your body needs to get rid of all of this lactic acid, possibly by reacting it with oxygen. So the more lactic acid that builds up, the more oxygen you'll need, and we call this an oxygen debt. In fact, it is this oxygen debt that we repay when we incessantly pant right after a race. For these reactions to take place, our blood hurries the lactic acid over to the liver, where it reacts with oxygen, or we convert it back to glucose. So, moving on from that, how can we investigate the effects of exercise on the body? The main two things we can measure are the breathing rate and the heart rate. To measure somebody's breathing rate, you just count how many times their chest rises and falls in a given amount of time, generally for 1 minute. For heart rate, you can just measure your pulse. This can be done by placing 2 fingers on the artery within your wrist or in your neck. The sort of questions you can get on this topic will probably revolve around measuring things before and after exercise, and then describing or explaining how they've changed. Let's talk about a related past paper question. This is from P2. It says that respiration in the muscle cells of a human may take place when oxygen is available and when oxygen is not available. So the question is, for 1 mark, to name the type of respiration that takes place when oxygen is available. So, as we can see here that there are this is referring specifically to Assessment Objective 1. And Assessment Objective 1 refers to information, which is knowledge with understanding. So I'm going to write a K for knowledge and U for understanding. And as naturally you know that it is aerobic respiration, so it's just information as it is. Let's look at part B, though. If you look at part B, a person is running in a race. Outline the advantages to the person of the type of respiration in A, which was aerobic respiration, compared with the type of respiration that takes place when oxygen is not available. So in A, if you remember, the aerobic respiration was the answer. So in a sense, the examiner is asking us to differentiate between aerobic respiration and when oxygen is not available, which is naturally referring to which? It is naturally referring to anaerobic respiration. Keep in mind here that the word used is outline. It does not ask us to discuss, describe, or explain, so we'll just give a general idea of what is how aerobic Respiration is supposed to be more advantageous than anaerobic respiration. We need to take into consideration the number of marks that are 4. And we can consider this as an example of assessment objective number 2, which is basically the application of the knowledge of understanding, and it will be related to problem solving. So I'm going to write an S for solution. How to answer this question? Naturally, it's asking us for the advantages of aerobic respiration. First things first, there is more oxygen available in aerobic respiration, which means there is more readily available energy at all times for the person who is undergoing the respiration. So the related person who is running is able to now run faster, cover more distance, or undergo more muscular contractions. And there is, very importantly, no lactic acid accumulation that is associated with anaerobic respiration. So there will be no hindering of activity because there is no pain, there is no fatigue. No pain, no fatigue. And secondly, but lastly rather, there is no oxygen debt to be repaid later. Remember that oxygen debt refers to that oxygen that is required to oxidize the lactic acid, which is a toxic material present within the muscle cells.